Good afternoon and welcome to today's deadline stream. It is FPL Game Week 26, the blank game week. We're going to tell you my transfer plans for Game Week 26, chip strategies, captaincy debate, and much more. So make sure you smash a like on the video, and of course, make sure you comment in the live chat what are your transfers for this blank game week. Let's start with a Game Week 25 review of the double game week. I made two transfers for a -4. I brought in two players that I thought would play both games, and they didn't. Certainly Nathan Ake. I brought him in for Trippier. I was going to bring in Ake for Porro, but in the end, I got priced out that move with Ake going up in price. And I'm quite glad to hear that Porro could be back for Game Week 27 anyway, so that's quite nice. But I brought in Nathan Ake thinking that he would get starts in both games with the injury to Gvardiol, and I was hoping for at least one clean sheet in one of the two games. Man City did just that. But unfortunately, Pep decided to bench Ake for the Brentford game. And of course, he conceded against Chelsea. So just the 2 points was very, very disappointing in a double game week. We also then did the transfer of Foden in for Mr. Cole Palmer. Now, glad to see Palmer blanked in that game against Manchester City. But Phil Foden also blanked in both games for just the 5 points across the double game week. So not very good transfers, but a very good game week. 98 points, played triple captaincy on Erling Haaland, and in terms of the goalkeeping situation, Martin Dubravka conceded 2 against Bournemouth. Still Newcastle defensively looking a problem, and so that's why I felt I needed to sell Trippier, because going forward I don't want to be doubled up on their defence, and Dubravka has got save points. You know, in a 2-2 he at least got some saves, but he's not quite getting those clean sheets. So hopefully in the coming weeks he will be a decent enough player for us. It's just that there's not much point in changing the keepers around this season. There's not been a lot of keepers scoring points anyway. But yeah, Dubravka, when I brought him in for that Sanchez replacement in Game Week 17, it really has not made an impact. And if anything, Newcastle's defence has got worse. So yeah, Ake also came in, as I mentioned. Frustrating, but my thinking is hopefully he'll start the Bournemouth game now that he got that rest in the Brentford match. But I think Bournemouth, they could well score in that game with Dominic Solanke in great form. However, Manchester City will fancy their chances. Hopefully Ake can get an attacking return or something there. But yeah, frustrating Ake transfer. Doughty, 1 pointer in 2 games across the double, 0 against Liverpool, got booked, apparently went off injured as well. But he, of course, conceded 2 against Manchester United and then 4 against Liverpool. So not a good day at the office for Luton, and not a good day for Doughty. Now, Doughty's got like 2 points in the last couple of weeks against Sheffield United and in the double. So it's been a nightmare, really. But yeah, he's going to be doubling in 28, so he's probably worth the hold. Gabriel Saliba as well on my bench. I decided to bench Saliba because I felt that I needed to start my attackers, who did end up getting more points. But nice to see that Gabriel clean sheet come in for that game from Arsenal against Burnley. A bullet header would have been even nicer from Gabriel, but we'll take the 6 points and run with that. They've got Newcastle this week, not a bad fixture for some set pieces, because we know Newcastle defensively have been a bit suspect in that department. And Gabriel, you know, going forward is just such an attacking defender, so you just keep him. He's been a great own this season. So yeah, not great from the defence, but the midfield performed much better. Let's start off with the star boy, Bukayo Saka against Burnley. Huge haul. This is what we love to see from Saka. He's been in great form, and now he's got a Newcastle fixture that some people will look to the captaincy towards, because, as I mentioned, Newcastle have not exactly been good defensively, especially away from home. And Saka, he's just the main man on pens, and he's so attacking at the moment, and he's really kind of balancing out that early part of the season where he wasn't hauling. But he's just an absolute keep. And even though people sold him for the doublers last week, I just don't see a world where he would leave my team. Pascal Gross has been a great differential for me, getting me loads of points, and he's still very low owned. Got a nice return against Sheffield United with the assist there and some bonus, so really, really happy with that. So Diogo Jota obviously went off injured in the Brentford game. Very frustrating. What can be done about that? He got the assist though for Darwin's goal, so that's at least something from the game week. But yeah, obviously it's a bit of a Mane, strikes 2. Gets injured in the first game of the double and doesn't play the second, and it's another Liverpool midfielder. So frustrating stuff. He's going to be out for 2 months, but I don't think he's a priority sell this week if you're struggling to get 11 out. you might want to be looking at other players who, for instance, if you've got 11 already, who needs to replace Jota? If you haven't, then Jota's a sell. Foden got 5 points. Yeah, that looks like it's an assist, but it's no, 2 blanks. Very frustrating. I never own him at the right times. He always blanks when he's in my team. So yeah, I think Foden, he's probably not going to be a long-term hold. He's got Bournemouth this week. Hopefully he'll just go off in that game. But then after that, Man United, Liverpool, it's not great for Man City. So I could definitely see myself selling him, especially if they blank in Game Week 29, which is looking likely. And then the front three, I didn't change anyone because they're just good assets. Haaland, triple captain, was unfortunate. He had a high XG in that Chelsea game, and on another day it could have gone well. Against Brentford, he finally got that 1 goal, but just the 2 bonus. Akanji got all 3, so yeah, not the best of triple captains. We're not going to remember this one for a while, but the logic behind it was sound, so I'm still happy with the decision, and hopefully Solanke won't punish anyone too much for the triple captain in 28 against Sheffield United and Luton. Watkins, 13-pointer against a Fulham side who, have really been struggling as of late, so that was nice to see. Solanke as well against Newcastle. Dubravka had a bit of a stinker for that Solanke goal, but we'll still take Solanke's points. And he's been really good to own recently and got the double in 28, so definitely a hold. The bench then, we had Areola in 3 points, just 1 over Dubravka. Hwang, thankfully blanked. I always play him at the right times, it seems. Start him for the great fixtures and he hauls big, and then bench him for the tough ones and he blanks. So he's very, very obedient, Hwang. Saliba 6 on there as well. I was always going to start Doughty and Ake with a double, and obviously those attackers just too good to not play. And then Porro, I did keep because of the fact I got priced out of selling him for Ake. I felt that Porro might be a differential in Game Week 27 when everyone's jumped ship, and hopefully he'll be back for then. I might have to not play him against Villa or sell him, but at least I'll have him for the home fixture against Palace if he's back. So yeah, that's my Game Week 25 overall rank, 134k. It's been a lovely run of green arrows. That's now 8 green arrows in a row since Game Week 18. So we've been on a really nice run, really, since that Game Week 9 wildcard where we brought in Hwang Hee-chan at just 1% owned, and he returned against Bournemouth. And since then, he's been a legend for me, as have the likes of Anthony Gordon. You've got players like Watkins, who's been huge. Obviously, Trippier's had some good weeks. Gordon, so many players, right? So I think this is a key part of the season now with these blanks in 26 and 29 where it's about getting through. Do you have chips? If not, try and find a way to navigate it. And yeah, this is where I'm going into Game Week 26, and I've set up well with my transfers in previous weeks building into this blank where I've got 11 starters without making a transfer. So let's go into my selection for Game Week 26 blank. And we're going to start off with Areola between the sticks at home to Brentford. That's a fixture I don't expect a clean sheet because Ivan Toney's been in very good form for Brentford, and West Ham defensively have been all over the shop. But with Martin Dubravka away to Arsenal, it makes sense to start Areola and hopefully some save points there. Hard to read how the West Ham game will end on Monday night, but I would imagine maybe a high-scoring draw or a low-scoring kind of 1-0 either way. So it's kind of possible a 0-0. We'll have to see, but hopefully Areola can just get some save points if nothing else. And at least with Areola, if I don't free hit in 29, which is unlikely, my current team with these kind of players in position, especially by my transfers later on, I'll only have about 4 or 5 players in Game Week 29. So, free hitting looks likely that week. But if by some miracle with the FA Cup results in midweek next week, and there were some upsets, some big teams, playing Game Week 29, then I don't free hit in that week, and then Areola is a keeper that's plays in 29 anyway, where of course Dubravka you would imagine doesn't if Newcastle win their game against Blackburn in the FA Cup. So yeah, Areola, he's hopefully going to get me something, but I'm not that confident. The front kind of line is looking tasty. The back line, not great this week. As said about Ake, obviously, he did get benched against Brentford. Now, hopefully, some logic would say maybe he'll start this one, but Pep doesn't go by logic. We know this by now. Ake, against his former side, hopefully we'll get some attacking returns or something at least. A clean sheet would be nice because City don't get many of them. Saliba, Newcastle, I don't expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet because I think Newcastle could pose a threat to that Arsenal defence, but I expect there's potential for attacking returns from both Saliba and Gabriel. They've shown that in the last couple of weeks with those goals at West Ham, so I think that could be a potential for points, and Saliba does get a lot of bonus points. Gabriel, on the other hand, I think Gabriel definitely can score in this game, a bullet header. We know how set pieces have been a struggle for Newcastle this season, and yeah, I don't think that a goal for Newcastle will massively kind of take down the appeal of some points from Gabriel. We know he's got routes to points elsewhere. Foden, away to Bournemouth, great fixture. Now, on paper, Man City should demolish Bournemouth, and they did that in the reverse fixture, 6-1. Erling Haaland famously getting a frustrating points haul in that one of nothing, basically, and a lot of people captained him. Foden, though, did have a good game against Bournemouth at the Etihad last season, and he can do it well against Bournemouth, especially at the Vitality. He did score in this fixture last season. So I think Foden can carry on that good record and hopefully just leave my team this week. He probably won't be beyond this week, but he was there for the double. It didn't pay off. Hopefully it pays off in 26. Now, Hwang everyone's bringing him in this week. He's the talk of the town. I had him back in game week 9 at 1% owned, and he just delivered like you wouldn't believe. 4 points against Bournemouth. You had the nice 14-pointer against Brentford, a few 7-pointers, a 10-pointer in there, a 5-pointer, a 6-pointer against Everton. He was legendary. He was so good for me. And now he's no longer really differential. He's still under 10%, I think about 8%, but he was so much lower than that. And obviously he's gone off to the Asian Cup, and I kept him all this time. He was back for this team, for this game, and yeah, he was always going to be starting this week. So yeah, hopefully he's going to return, and yeah, hopefully everyone bring him in hasn't cursed him. Pascal Gross, Everton, great fixture for Brighton. I think Brighton can score in that game. Everton defensively didn't look amazing against Crystal Palace, and I think Brighton, the way they impact games, Pascal Gross can be a benchable player because he's not always playing in attacking positions, but as we saw against Sheffield United, sometimes based on the fixture, he can do the job. Then we got Saka against Newcastle, good fixture, vice captaincy at the moment because I think Saka being on pens just has the advantage on vice captaincy over Watkins. But I think Saka's not a bad shout for captaincy this week because Newcastle have been struggling defensively and Saka is in the form of the season. So, yeah, definitely a nice midfield, that one. Then the front three, we've got Watkins against Forest. Not a bad captaincy shout, but I still feel that Villa, the way they break down teams, sometimes at home, it's not as always easy as it seems. They seem to be doing better away from home at the minute against Sheffield United and Fulham, but they did do well to score goals, this season against Nottingham Forest in the reverse fixture. I do think this is a game that Villa can win. They are often finding ways of winning, Villa, and that's the important thing. It's just you don't always know whether Watkins can actually get the returns that he's set out to do. I now look back to the reverse fixture and think, okay, Forest did actually win that in game week 11, so maybe it won't be as easy as it looks, but I think Forest probably still struggling in this one. Haaland on the captaincy against Bournemouth makes a lot of sense. He is facing a great side in Bournemouth where you'd fancy him to get returns. And then Solanke against Man City, I've got him there, rolling the transfer. He's going to be important for 28. So the bench, Dubravka, Doughty, Porro and Jota. Those players I all think are very important for the upcoming weeks, especially Doughty with him having that double in 28. Porro could be back for 27 and he could be an important player to start for that Palace game. Jota, obviously, I'd love to replace him because he dropped in price last night, but, I just can't justify it because I'd have to bench one of my attackers, and I don't really want to do that with any of them. I've thought about Solanke because I've got Ake starting there, so I could look at the logic and think if I want a City clean sheet, will Solanke blank? But Solanke's on penalties. You just can't always bench him. He's just too risky to bench. And Jota, yeah, he is definitely going to go next week, but I want to wait a week because if I want to get in Son, for instance, ahead of their game in 29 or their good fixture in 27, then it's more logical to do that next week when Spurs won't blank. And Son, we can have a little look to see kind of how he does in the FA Cup as well. But yeah, that is... Sorry, Spurs fans, that was a bit mean. They don't have an FA Cup game, but you know what I mean. Just a bit more time to assess who the best Jota replacement is. So yeah, that's my team for game week 26. Hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video and let me know your transfer thoughts rolling this week for 2 free transfers in 27. Probably to deal with Jota. I'll see if Doughty's injured, and if not, then we'll hold him for the double, and maybe we might even move on Foden if we want to get in Son, or Ake if we don't think he's good against Man United. So that's our team. It's good luck this game week. Don't take too many hits. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.